We begin in Miami, Florida, where Grant Kemmerer was outside on the patio of his apartment tending to his favorite pets.
Grant's always loved animals. He didn't care what they were.
He wanted to have snakes. We allowed him to have snakes at the house, which were non-poisonous snakes. After he had his own place, he told me that he was going to get some semi-poisonous snakes. And I knew that once we had progressed to a semi-poisonous snake, that the next thing was going to be a poisonous snake.
And I told him whenever he got the snakes, I said, you know, one of these days they're going to call me at work, and they're going to tell me you've been bitten. And Grant's pat answer to that was, no, Mom, don't worry. Trust me, it will never happen.
Ignoring his parents' warnings, Grant bought a rare albino Asian cobra, one of the most deadly animals in the world.
When Grant showed me the cobra, I was fascinated by it. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's also absolutely lethal. Grant said that the snake was docile, but to me the snake was very hostile. Anytime I was ever around the snake would hood, and the snake would strike the front of the cage, and it would continue to strike the front of the cage until its nose was bloody.
Shortly before midnight on November 20th, 1989, Grant went to change the cobra's water. After 4 years, he was confident he could handle the snake safely. Larry Wygand had only been Grant's roommate for a month.
When he pulled out his albino snake, I noticed that it was getting close to him, but I didn't worry because I knew that he's handled it before.
Carefully keeping the snake's head away from his body, down near his thick leather boots, Grant reached for the snake's empty water bowl.
I heard him shout from the patio, and when I looked out, he was putting the albino snake back into the cage. Grant was shocked. He started to react, I think, maybe feel a little nauseous. So then he said, Larry, you know, just get me to the hospital, let's go.
Without treatment, the cobra's venom could kill Grant within a few hours.
When Grant started to tell me that his reaction might be a cardiac arrest, that's when I really started to worry. The driver motioned me to roll my window down, so I motioned him to pull off to the shoulder of the road. When I got out of the car, the driver came out kind of excited, waving his arms and screaming something to the fact that his buddy or the passenger was bitten by a cobra. I saw the victim slumped over and the blood running down his leg, and that I figured the time was of essence.
Florida Highway Patrol Officer Jim Card headed for the nearest hospital.
I have one white male 1012 reference to cobra bite.
I then notified the station that I had a snake bite victim that he'd been bit by a cobra, and that they needed to tell the hospital, Baptist ER, that I had somebody coming in so they could be prepared for him. I reached speeds right in the area of 100 to 110 miles an hour. It allowed me to get to the Baptist in right around the area of 3 minutes. I know that you get bit by a cobra, you don't have a whole lot of time to deal with it. He was still conscious at the time, but as I was carrying him in, he said that he was getting a little lightheaded.
You got a snake bite.
Okay, I'll get that to Brandon. What kind of snake was it?
It's cobra.
We'll see if we have the antivenom.
Okay, let's get the leads on him.
He told us
Give me two
kind of
antivenom
snake
tubes.
that he was bitten by, and we realized that we had a problem. This particular antivenom for an Asian cobra isn't kept available in the hospital because it's used so rarely.
Okay, get the intubation tray ready.
Emergency room doctor Larry Branham had never treated a cobra bite before.
I was changing the water bowl in its cage. I keep him.
When did it happen?
About 20 minutes ago.
The fact that he was so sick so soon after being bitten meant to me that he had had a rather severe bite. And this really caused a lot of concern because this particular type of snake has a neurotoxin, basically, that can paralyze a person. He could stop breathing, his heart could stop, and I knew right at the particular time there was not a lot we could do for him.
that may have this antivenom.
The nursing staff and people at the desk began to make phone calls to try and obtain some type of antivenom that we could use, and no one actually could agree on the type of antivenom that we needed.
You recognize your mother?
Yeah.
He was seeing double. He was shaking a little bit. He was slowly losing consciousness. He looked like he was dying. There was just a lot of things going through my head. How do we get him to this age, and then all of a sudden this happens to him?
Grant asked them to contact his friend, snake expert Joe Wasilewski. Joe brought some anti-venom he thought would work to the hospital.
Poor Grant must have been scared half to death just by the vibrations of everyone coming on around him. Hey, Grant, I'm here. So I went in there as calm as I can be, and I just wanted to give him some confidence, and Grant seemed relieved. I've been through all that you're talking about. To see one of your friends in such a condition is scary. Okay, I'm going to go talk to the doctor. The antivenom that he brought in was a South African cobra antivenom. The snake that had bitten Grant was an Asian cobra. If you use the wrong type of antivenom and you then wanted to re-inject him with a different type of antivenom, he may be sensitive to that and may have a full-blown allergic reaction. It'll work for that cobra, I know that. The snake he has is an Asian cobra.
With only one chance to save Grant's life with antivenom, Dr. Branham was reluctant to use the wrong kind.
I don't know. But can you go see if you can get the information? No problem. Okay. I didn't know who he was, didn't know anything about him, so I really didn't know how reputable his information might be. The trip to get the book kind of bothered me because I knew it would take an hour under normal circumstances. And from what I saw, his symptoms were going downhill fast.
Stay awake.
He was having trouble with his breathing. He was having trouble with his speech, having trouble with seeing even. Once these types of symptoms begin, the neurotoxin can progress very rapidly, leading to anything from coma to death.
It had been less than 2 hours since Grant was bitten.
I was hoping for the best and expecting the worst. I was praying to God that he would pull Grant through, that he would give him a second chance, that he wouldn't take my only son away from me.
Let's get another BP on him.
Around 2 a.m., Joe returned with the snake book.
When I showed the book to the doctor, it does say additional venoms neutralized, and it said Asian cobra, but there was an asterisk, and I never noticed the asterisk before, but the doctor sure did, and it actually said it may or may not neutralize this venom, and if it does, it may be slight. So the doctor still wasn't convinced that this was the proper serum.
When you come right down to it, we really didn't have a choice. We had to try something. We had to do something. And Grant kept telling me, Joe knows what he's doing. So I had talked to his father, and his father went out and he went ahead and signed the papers, and they started giving them the serum.
Nearly 3 hours had passed. Time was running out.
It was frightening to say yes. Use this antivenom that may or may not work.
Come on, open your eyes.
You got to stay with me when I'm putting this in you.
The antivenom didn't seem to take effect. Grant was still declining. His pulse was irregular. His fingernails were turning blue, which I was real concerned with. Come on, talk to me. Talk to me. I think we were into approximately the 5th or 6th vial before you could see things started to reverse themselves.
By the time he had finished the 100 cc's of anti-venom, he was totally awake. He was still having some blurred vision, but his vital signs and things were okay.
The happiest moment of the entire evening was when Grant asked for food. When he said those particular words, "I'm hungry," I thought, we got this. This is made. This is it. This is, this is going to be history.
And I'm sure you'll be glad to get out of here.
It was really a festive time for all, because everybody knew Grant was going to make it. I think we'll all be glad to get out of here. Every animal has a little niche in the world. Now, let's say
Joe and I have become very close, of course, through this. We work together now doing shows and lectures. I feel good every time I teach a youngster how important animals are to us.
Grant still collects snakes, but none that are poisonous. He knows he can't count on being that lucky twice, and he wouldn't want to risk hurting the people who care about him.
It's just something that not everybody gets to see. It's how genuine friends and family's love is for you. And you really can't understand that until you do come that close.
When it's all over, you look at the things that you've done, like you growl him for not brushing his teeth or not picking up his clothes, and you think, geez, that was minor, you know. I'm just thankful he's alive. Just very thankful he's alive.
Everybody look up over here. Smile, everybody.